Do you ever feel insecure about your looks that you need a trophy man next to you to feel validated? Well, we have an email here from a woman who feels that she objectifies men in order to feel worthy, and she wants to end this pattern. So stay tuned.
Mr. Healthy Love.
Hi, I'm Mr. Healthy Love, your dating coach. And let's get straight into this by reading her email. So she says, I need some advice. So I've been analysing why my love life is always so disappointing. And I realise that guys aren't the problem, it's how I view them. Like, I realise that I don't see men as integral individuals, but as love prospects, which their only function is to be my potential boyfriend. Also, my first filter is whether they are good looking or not, and upon that I decide if I'm interested or not. If they are, I automatically turn on my hunter switch and I see them as something to obtain. If they're not handsome, I won't even be remotely interested in them, not even as a person. Why do I do this? The answer is because I've struggled all my life with personal image issues, always being very insecure if I'm pretty or not, and I'm trying to seek external validation by being in a relationship with someone society deems as beautiful. No need to say that I do not like this unconscious thinking pattern and I wish to change it. It would be nice to see what you think, or if there's somebody that can relate. Well, if there is someone who can relate, please leave a comment below. But this is a very interesting email, and I want to just go into what exactly is going on here. Well, let's start at the beginning, and what I mean by that is let's start off with our childhood and how we grew up and saw the world. Because having a sense of esteem comes from how our caregivers gave us that esteem. So as a child, you're not going to initially have self-esteem, but you're going to need a caregiver or someone who's looking after you to instill that esteem in you. Let's say, for example, everyone probably remembers the first time they rode a bike without stabilizers. And usually if you're a child, you'll probably have someone watching over you while you're doing this. And let's say, for example, you started to ride the bike without the stabilizers and you were like, look, mum, look, dad, look what's happening here. I'm able to ride. And yet they just aren't that interested. They go, oh yeah, like, well done. That does not esteem you as a child. Caregivers that give a healthy self-esteem to that child will instill the esteem in them by saying, oh, well done, look at this, that's amazing. Like, they will encourage the child that they've done something really well. And that gives the child that sense of, oh, I've done something positive. I've been given a positive affirmation. Wow, that's really cool. I've done something amazing. And they're going to feel esteemed. But if you have a childhood where people didn't encourage you, didn't give you that esteem, then you're going to find it quite difficult as an adult to then be in different relationships and be in the world feeling that you're good enough. So as you grow up as an adult, if you feel something's happened where you feel dented or been put down, you're not going to be able to esteem yourself and think, actually, it's not that bad. You'll be thinking, is it because of me? I'm not good enough. What have I done? Why is it happening to me? These kind of questions will come into your head because you don't feel worthy. You're going to feel insecure about yourself because no one's ever told you that you're enough and everything. And even if something external happens in your environment, which you cannot control, you are in control of your internal and you don't have to feel like it's because of you. So you realize that you cannot control the external that is on the outside, and the only thing you can control is the internal, and therefore you're not going to feel down about it because you have a healthy enough esteem to say to the external, that's not within my control. Now let's take another example when you're in adulthood. So let's say you're with a guy and the guy is either your boyfriend or just a friend even. And let's say you've had a really hard day and you haven't had a chance to eat, and you get home, you start eating, you're kind of scoffing your face, and he makes a little remark which is supposed to be a joke. So he's not deliberately doing it in a derogatory way. He's just saying it as a little tease, he's just playing with you. And he says, wow, you're eating that fast, oink oink, as a joke, okay? He's smiling, he's laughing about it. But then you look at him and you think, wait, you can't say that to me. I'm a girl. You can't say that kind of thing. And then you start thinking throughout the entire day, what did he mean by that? Is he trying to say I'm fat? Do I look like a pig? Am I overweight? And you start feeling insecure about yourself because he said oink oink. Now, of course, if it was said in a rude way, then that's not acceptable. Of course, you have a right to feel that he's being rude, but it was meant as a joke. And a woman that has a healthy self-esteem is just going to look up and go, hey, and just laugh it off and think it's quite funny probably. But someone that has never had that esteem as a child, has never been given that esteem, given that confidence to look out at the world and say, I'm healthy and I'm fine as I am, they're going to think the guy's being extremely rude and it's really offensive. And it wasn't meant that way. But she's going to take it differently, and she might sit there for the rest of the day worrying about it and asking her friends, hey, you know what he said to me? And she's going to feel like dented by it and telling all her friends, her family, I can't believe he said that to me. He said I was like a pig. And they might say back, oh, that's really offensive. He shouldn't say that. But it was taken out of context. It's just how you saw what he said. It's how you saw the world, how you saw what he said and your perception of what he said, and you believed he was saying it in a rude way when he wasn't. You know, that's something that can happen when you're a child, if you have a brother or an older sibling or something and they're just digging at you, and they might say something like that. And if you're in a healthy family dynamic, you're going to tease with each other and it's just going to be playful. But if you're not, and you've never had someone say positive affirmations towards you, you're just going to feel that you're under attack. When you have a clear knowing of who you are, a strong identity, you're not even going to think twice about that comment. You're just going to think, oh, he's just being playful, he's just being himself. And this also works the other way round. So if someone gives you a compliment, you're going to probably second guess it and say, did he really mean that? He just said I'm really beautiful, like I had really beautiful hair or whatever. And you're going to think, nah, he's just saying that. He doesn't really mean it, because you don't believe in yourself enough. And what it is that you're dependent on other people's views to give you esteem. So if someone says something good about you, you're going to feel better. If someone says something bad about you, you're going to feel less than. What's going on here is you're trying to get external validation from another guy as your kind of trophy guy, let's say. So you're looking for something external to make you look good. And people do this all the time. So when people go shopping and buy nice clothing, nice outfits, nice brands, they do it in a way because they're thinking, I feel better than now. Look at me. I feel good about myself. Look, I'm wearing this really expensive outfit. I'm better than someone else. Not everyone does this, obviously, but some people use it to esteem themselves. So they will wear some nice thing. They'll pay an extortionate price for something just because they feel good. They feel better than now. They can look around and say, well, I've got to be good because I'm wearing this outfit and other people can't afford that, so I feel good about myself. So if you feel that you need to date a man that society deems is handsome or high value, then you need to ask yourself, why is that? Why do I not feel enough without that? What has actually changed? If I'm dating a handsome guy or not, why is it that I'm suddenly worthy if there's a handsome guy next to me? It's all a reflection of a perceived status of yourself and how other people see you. It's really not a good way to look at things, because then if you see a guy that you deem to be less handsome and you don't think is worthy enough to speak to, then you're trying to gain status and value by putting someone else down. You're trying to gain worth by implying that they are subordinate to you. What you're saying is, I don't think he's worthy to talk to, therefore I must be better than him. He's less than me, but I'm better than him. However, this is just not true self-esteem. You're trying to esteem yourself by external values. So you're trying to put other people down in order to feel better, or you're feeling worse because you feel someone's better than you. And this is just going to be a yo-yo effect. It's not true self-esteem. The only way you're going to get true self-esteem is through self-love. Now, what do I even mean by that? So in order to gain self-love, you need to be able to speak your truth, because this is a multifaceted problem which goes in lots of different areas. So if you're finding it really hard to esteem yourself, it may be also that you're finding it hard to speak your truth and speak up and express yourself in situations. So for example, if something you find somebody is annoying you, let's just say, about something, and you can't speak up and say, hey, we need to talk about this and discuss it over because I don't feel that's appropriate, or what you're doing, or I feel that you've done something wrong towards me. If you can't say that in the moment and you sit on that, you're going to start feeling less than and feeling bad about yourself because you haven't opened up and expressed yourself. You're holding that feeling in. And this is why your self-esteem is low, because you aren't able to express how you feel. Imagine all those feelings, those negative feelings, and they're just stuck inside and you can't release them in any way. You're just closing your mouth, thinking, oh, it'll just pass by if I just don't speak about it, we'll forget about it at some point. But these little digs and problems build up inside until one time you're going to think, I've had enough, and just explode on someone. And that's where you're going to have all this anger coming out. So if you're able to speak, especially in the moment, that's the most difficult part, is to be able to speak in that moment, because you can always sit back and reflect and go, oh, I should have said that. But it's really then hard to then speak up about it, because it's like you're bringing it back. You're trying to talk about something that happened a day ago or something, and people will think, are you still thinking about that? Was it really that big a deal? But it's because you never had the chance to say anything, because you just shut your mouth and didn't speak. So it's really something that you need to train yourself on, is to be able to speak in that moment how you feel without saying it with anger. So you can say it, but try not to say it with like a passive aggressive tone, or maybe you're in a sarcastic way. You just want to be able to express yourself in a healthy way. The best way to do it is say, look, I understand your viewpoint, but I feel this. They can then think, oh, okay, she's heard my view, but she thinks something else and she feels hard done by because of what I've done. And most probably you'll sort that problem out in the moment. But if you don't say anything, how's anyone going to even know that you've got an issue? They'll just think, oh, I said something and she was fine with it, when you clearly weren't. So that's really important for self-love, self-esteem, is to be able to express how you feel. Also, try to engage with people on a subjective level by treating them as individuals. So instead of looking at them objectively, whether it's their perceived status or appearance, start to look at them more subjectively as individuals, and look at their inner qualities rather than their external qualities, like their looks, for example. Instead of worrying about whether someone is good enough to speak to or not good enough, by doing that, all you're doing is you're actually limiting yourself, because there are going to be plenty of people that you deem as less good looking that have such a wealth of knowledge and interesting things to talk about, which you're just limiting and deleting out of your life. But this is going to come with time, and when you start loving yourself more and feeling that you are enough, you're not going to be worrying about other people and whether they're good enough to be alongside, you know? So it's not, oh, I need to have these cool friends to be cool. You know, it's kind of like in high school when, you know, you've got to hang around with a cool crowd to feel good enough. The older you get, the more you're going to realize that this is really quite a shallow way to think. This is another thing I think about. If I were able to speak another language fluently, think of all the kind of people that you would be able to speak to that you right now you cannot communicate with unless they can speak your language. So I always wanted to learn Spanish, for example, and I think it's maybe the third most spoken language in the world. And imagine if you're able to just speak that language, how many different people, different cultures you'll be able to speak with. And that just I find really interesting. But it's the same if you're just limiting yourself to this certain person that you deem to be good enough to speak to. Can you just imagine all the people that you're missing out on? And it's kind of like you're creating such a pressure that you need this tick list of what you need to tick off before you can even speak to someone. And instead of doing that, the next time you go to an event, why don't you go to that event and just pick a group of people? You look at them and you think, they look quite interesting. They look like they're having a good time. Go straight over to them and speak to them and just have a conversation with them without thinking, what am I going to get out of this? All this, I need to get something from this relationship. I need to talk to this guy because he's the boss of this company, so I need to climb the ladder, or I need this guy because he's good looking and my social status will be higher if I hang around this type of guy. It works if you're thinking in this status, but it doesn't do anything for the internal. It might help externally what people perceive of you, but it doesn't help internally anything. It's just a shallow external thought process that you're going through, because when you find value in anybody and everybody around you, you're going to take so much from that. Like maybe that guy that you wouldn't bother speaking to has so much wisdom and knowledge that you think, wow, I'm so glad I spoke to that guy. I went up to him and chatted with him, because you might meet a new friend, a new guy. He might know someone that can help you in some way. By cutting off the majority of the world, you're just really limiting your options. I don't think that's helping you. If you want to be able to grow as a person, you're going to want to be able to speak to anybody, because you don't know what they know. You don't know what they have. They might have a friend that's a really nice guy, handsome guy, and they might introduce you to that guy. So by just ignoring them, what are you achieving? If you're more present in the moment, you're not going to have to worry about being good enough for someone else, because you're just going to enjoy yourself and enjoy being you. You know that you're enough, and you're going to enjoy interacting with other people. You're going to realize that you're enough, and everyone else is going to be able to see that, because it's that energy that you exude. It's the energy that you give off. Whereas when it's all this, I need to take something from someone, the universe is just going to give you more of that shallowness. Whereas if you're just open to anything and everything, and you're just curious about the world, that's how it should be. You should just be curious about, what's this guy all about? It doesn't matter what he looks like. What's this guy all about? What's his life? Everyone has a different life and has different experiences. What can I learn from him? What is it that's so interesting about this guy? And that's the way you want to look at things. So try and put yourself out there, not for people who you deem matter, but just for anybody and anything. It's what you're doing is you're working your non-physical muscle, working your relationship muscle. So the more you work that muscle and become sociable, the stronger that muscle is going to become. So if you found this valuable, don't forget to hit the like button and hit the subscribe button and push the notification bell so that you will be alerted every time I upload a new video. Don't forget, you can ask your questions on the dating forum on my website at mrhealthylove.com. And if your question is particularly interesting, I will be doing an analysis of it on a future YouTube video. And if you want any one-to-one coaching sessions with me, you can book them on my website at mrhealthylove.com, or you can download the Mr. Healthy Love app by downloading the Wix app and then using the invite code. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.